So, welcome to the new lesson on computer sciences for SEBA class 10. So, today we'll be seeing the arrays in C. Okay. So, basically, when I say array is a collection of similar data items where elements are stored in contiguous memory location in our computer. And each data item of an array is typically called an element, and each element has a specific memory location, and this can be accessed by its relative position in an array. This relative position can also be referred as index of the element. So basically array is a collection of similar data type items. When I say similar data type items, it can be integer, it can be characters, or it can be a floating numbers, right? So if you have a set of integers, say the integer is like 20, 25, 30, 35, 80. So all these integers clubbed together in a continuous memory location, and this is very much important. Why? Because each of the elements, say 20, 21, 40, 43, 45, this needs to be in a particular order, and all these elements are called all these like integers are called the elements in an array. Okay, so one thing that you remember is like array is a collection of similar data items. It can be integer, it can be float, it can be anything, like it needs to be similar. Okay, and then each of the elements each of the elements has a specific memory location in an array, and they can be accessed. Okay, so the array element can be accessed. Now if I tell you an example, so this is one of the classic example that is present in your textbook, where if you see, these are the array elements, 24, 87, 97, 99, 77, 19 and 17. So these are called the array elements, and below these array elements, if you see, there is an indices. Indices is nothing but the position. So this is the 0th position, this is the first position, this is the second position, this is the third position. Similarly, it will go till the end of the array. So, and all these elements are stored in a particular memory location in the computer, and all these elements can also be accessed. Okay. Now if you see here array parameters, this array type is integer. Why it is integer is because it is storing the value of the type of integer. It can store the value of character as well, and that we call as character array. If the array is storing like the integer kind of element, then it is called an integer array. So array size. Now what is array size? Array size is nothing but like what is the maximum value of elements that an array can store. That is called the array size. So in this case, if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this array is holding the like it can hold up to 7 elements. That is the reason the size of the array is called is declared as 7. Okay, and then the first index is called the 0. Now there are two things. So if you tell about the length of the array, then you need to tell like length of the array is 7, because this array can hold up to 7 elements. But the position will always start from the 0. Okay, and it will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So if you want to access element number 24 in this array, then what you need to do is like you need to access the 0th position. If you want to access the element 99 here, then you need to access the third position of this array. Okay, this is how like the flow goes. Now there are few things to note on array. One thing is like the size of an array is a number that says how many elements we can store in it at a maximum. Say if you say the size of this array, then we are telling it as 7 because this array can hold up to 7 elements, correct? This is also called the capacity of the array. Now the number of elements that an array can hold is also known as the capacity of the array. However, it may not store any element at all. Now this is important. Why? Because you can declare an array of like say 6 size or 7 size, right? But you can choose not to like put any element over here. So if you are not putting any element over here, then that memory space would always be empty. But you can always access that element because that is already been declared. So if you declare the array of like say 7 size and you are not putting any value over here in this position, then what generally happens is this will come as an like the empty element. So it will not give 19, it will give as empty. Okay. The elements in an array are stored one after the another, and they can be accessed by specifying their relative position or the indices. The index of the first element is in an array is 0 by default. The index of the second element is 1, and so on. The index of the last element is the size of the array minus 1. Okay. So the same thing it is telling is like it is starting from the position of 0 and it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4 till the end of the array. And if you are told like what is the size of the array, like what is the last element in the array, then you need to tell is like say if you want to access this one like say number 17, then what you need to do is size of the array minus 1, size of the array is 7, 7 minus 1 is 6, and then you can access this element. So the last element that you can access is like the total size of the array minus 1. Okay, so that would give you the index of the array, and once you have the index of the array, you can always access this element. Okay. Now there are two things when you talk about array. One is like the declaration of the array, and another is like how you are accessing the array. So when we talk about like declaration of the array, then initially we need to declare the array, like what is the size of the array it is, like how many elements it can store. And if you see here, I have written like an array is a collection of element of the same data type stored in contiguous memory location. Okay, the memory you need two things. One is like array is a collection of elements of the similar data type, say integer, float, or the characters, and it needs to hold the elements in a contiguous memory location. That means it needs to be serial. Okay, each element can be accessed using its index or the position. The first element has an index of 0. So if you see this array, the first element is 24, so this index is 0. And if you want to access this element, right, if you want to access this element, then you need to do num of 0. If you want to access this element, then you need to do num of 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now the array name. Array name, what is array name? It is the base address of the first element. Okay, so if you see here array name, the base address, what is the base address for this? This is the base address for this. So num0 will always give you the base address. Okay, size, maximum number of elements it can hold. The size of the array is particularly like what is the number of elements that it can hold. So in this case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it is holding 7 elements, so the size of the array is 7. Type, all elements must be of the same type. Okay, so if you see here, this array is declared as a number, and all the elements that this array is holding is of type integer, right? If you see here, we have declared a character array of size 17, and then we are like we are having all the elements in this array as a character. Okay, now few point to note here, it's a here you have declared, say you have declared an array of state whose name is state, and it is like of the type character, and here the value it is giving as 17. That means we have declared an array or a space in the like the memory of the computer whose name is state, and that state can hold elements of the type character, and it has like 17 spaces. So when you declare this thing, right, it will basically provide you with the 17 space memory in the computer from 0 to the index 16. Okay, now when you declare this one, right, as a state of 5, then you have ASAAM, Assam, right? So in that case, what happens is the memory that you have declared here, it start allocating over there. So the 0th position will start holding A, the first position will start holding S, the second position will start holding S, the third position will start holding A, and the final position will start holding M. But what happens to the other spaces, like 17 minus 5 if you do, then it would be like 12 spaces. 12 spaces are still empty, right? So that is the reason, like if you see here, you had this third point, right? However, it may not store any element at all. So this is one of the example where like the memory, in the memory the space has been allocated, but it is not holding any element. Okay, now this is the same thing that it is doing. Like if you see, we have declared an array of the type integer whose name is num, and it is holding like the we have declared like 7 spaces, and then we have hold like 24, 87, 97 in this way till the 7 elements. Okay, now these are the elements that we have declared here. These are the indexes. Indexes will basically start from position 0 and then it will go till the end. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if you want to access the element 24, then what you need to do is the name of the array, num, and then what is the position that you want to access. So if you want to access the element 24, then what you need to do is num is the name of the array, and then the position is 0. So if you want to access, say for example 77, then what you need to do is num, and then you have this position as 4. So this will, num 4 will give you 77, num 5 will give you 19, num 6 will give you 17, num 2 will give you 97. Okay, now if you see the parameters here, the array type is integer. We have declared an array of type integer. The size of the array is 7 because it is holding up to like 7 elements in it. The first index is 0 and then the last index is 6. Now if you see here, the index is always like the size minus 1. Now if you see the last index here, it is 6, right? So whatever would be the length of the array, minus 1 would be the last index of the array. So this is one point you need to note it down. Now I have took one example from the textbooks here. Like what the program does is like it is a C program to declare and display the array elements. Okay, now there are two things here. One is the declaration, how we are declaring the array, and another is the display of the array. So our program basically starts with has include stdio.h int main, then we are declaring the array. When you are declaring the array, we are declaring the array of the type integer. The name of the array is num, and it is holding like 7 characters, 7 integers. So these 7 integers are this, and then you have the printf. Initial values of the first elements are. So what will happen is in the next line, this will get printed in your terminal, right? So wherever there is a printf statement, it will basically print that part. Now it starts with index is equal to 0. Okay, so index is one variable that we have took, and then index is less than 7. That means like and index plus plus, which means it will go from index number 0, 1, 2, 3 till the condition will become false. That means it will run till from 0 to 6. That means it will run 7 times, and every time it runs, it is accessing like num of 0, num of 1, num of 2, num of 3, num of 5, num of 6, num of 7. So if you see the earlier one, right, like num of 0 will give 24, num of 1 is giving 87, num of 2 is giving 97. So if you see here, since this for loop is running from the index of 0 till the condition is becoming false, like it will run from 0 to 6, correct? Now every time when this loop runs, it will print this statement. Now when it prints num of 0, 2 will get printed. Again the next time when this loop run, then num of 1 3 will get printed. Then again it is running, then num of 2 will get printed, which means like 4 will get printed. Then till it comes till the like final position, num of 6 8 will get printed. Then when it goes to like index value will become 7 is less than 7, that means this condition becomes false and this loop will terminate. So basically what it will do is it will print all these elements in the array, because we are accessing it with num and then the index value, right? So similarly, this is like how you are printing an array which is declared as integer. Similarly, you have a character array. Here the array name is state. It is holding like the 5 elements in this array, and this array is of type character. Okay, and this is the array that we have declared. Now if you want to print this element, like fundamentally if you see, how do you print this element? Okay, how do you print this element? You print this element by accessing each of the elements in this array. Okay, you print this Assam using each of the elements in this array, and for that you need to have a for loop. So for loop will run from the index of 0 till index less than 5. That means it will run for the 4 times. Index plus plus will do 0 1 2 3 4, and then since next time when it goes, it will become 5 and the condition will become false. That is the reason like it will run from 0 to 4. So when it run from 0 to 4, that means it has already run 5 times. So what will happen next is, like we have done print C. If you see here, print D and then print C. Why it is print D is because whenever you are printing an integer element, then you do percentage D. Whenever you are printing a character element, then you do percentage C. So Assam in this array, like A, S, S, A, M are all the character values. So that is the reason we are doing percentage C. Here we were printing like the integer value, that's where we are doing percentage D. Okay, this thing is clear. Now coming back to the topic, what we have is like state. Now state of 0. Initially it will run, the for loop will start index of 0. State 0 will give you A. State, then again the for loop continues. State 1 will give you S. Then again state the another index will become 2. State of 2 will give you S. Then state of 3 will give you A. State of 4 will give you M. And state of 5. State of 5 will not come, because here whenever the index will become 5 less than 5, the condition is becoming false and it will not go inside this loop. Okay, so this is how, like, this is one of the program, like how you are declaring an array initially and then you are printing an array. So we have seen here, we have declared one integer array of size 7, then we did a for loop. After doing the for loop, we have printed the array elements one after the another. Similarly here we have declared an array of the type character, and then after declaring the type of character, we run a for loop and then print each of the elements of this array. Okay, so moving forward, we have another example. This is also from the textbook that you have. It's a, let's say this, what this program does is, this program will take input from an input to an array from the keyboard. So what basically happens is, we have initially declared a particular array, say number, which is of type integer. Next time what will happen is, user will come and they will try to enter a fresh set of values here. Okay, so whenever the user will enter a fresh set of values, it will like override all these values. So that is the program that we wanted to write. Okay, now what it happens is, like int num, this is the array that we have declared of size 7. If initial values of array elements are, so this will simply print the statement. Now this for loop will run from I is equal to 0 to I less than 7. That means it will run 7 times till like I is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. That means from 0 to 6, number of time that it run is 7, and num of 0 will give you 2, num of 1 will give you 3. Similarly, this will print the entire array. Now the next part is like we need to take a fresh input from the user, right? And when you take a fresh input from the user, what is the thing that you do? Yeah, in this case, what you do is you don't print the element. You first take the input from the element, and in order to take the input from the element, we will always do scanf instead of printf. Why? Because in the last statement here we were trying to display the array elements, and when we are displaying the array elements, then we always do printf. Now when we take the fresh input from the user, what basically happens is like this is the for loop that we are running from I is equal to 0 to I less than 7. That means it will run for the 7 times from 0th index to 6th index, and it will start printing like enter element, 0th element, first element. Now the user what will do here is whenever the user will enter the value, it is trying to change the value that is already present in this element in this array. Okay, what I have explained it here very clearly. Like initially the 7 elements were there, so num of 0, num of 1, num of 2, num of 3, 4, 5 and 6. So if you see num of 0 it is 2, num of 1 is 3, num of 2 is 2. Similarly all these things are there. Now what happens here, whenever the user will do scanf, okay, scanf of 0, whenever the user is doing scanf of 0, it is trying to override or it is trying to replace the value of the array element that is already present. Say user has entered 9. Now what will happen? User is access this element num of 0, which was already present with 2. Now in the same address, user is trying to write a value, and that is the reason now the 2 will become as 9. Similarly, if the user is next element that the user has entered is say 8, what will happen? This is the first position, right? This is this first position. It will change from 3 to 8. So num of 1 is being overwritten with 8, which had existing value of 3. Similarly, this for loop continues till 0 to 6, like it will run for the 7 times, and every time it runs, it tries to override the value of the same array that we had declared earlier. So it is trying to override this same array, right? And when the program terminates, after completing this program, when you try to print the array elements, then at that time this value will not get printed, because these values are already overwritten by the user in the existing for loop, in the above for loop. Okay, now when you do a new array elements are, then what will happen is these elements will get printed 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay, if this for loop was not there, then what would have happened? Then this array would have got printed. But since we have explicitly asked the user to enter the elements for that particular position in an array, that is the reason when you print a new array, then you will get all the elements that the user has entered. And this is something that has been expected from this program, where we are taking the input from the array, from the keyboard from the user, and then we are displaying the new or the fresh values. Okay, so I hope this program is clear. Now we move to another example. This is also one of the classic example that is present in the textbook. So what it does is, like say this program is used to print the sum of all the numbers of an array. Okay, so what will happen is initially we will take the input from the user, and user will say initially we will ask the user like how many numbers that you want to print. Say for example user has entered 6. Then after the user has entered 6, then user will start writing all the numbers from 1 by 1, from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And once the user has written all these numbers, then finally when the program will terminate, it will like print the sum of all the elements that the user has entered. Okay, now what it does, now say for example this is the program, Initially we have declared in like the array of which can store up to 20 elements. Okay, so here number array that can store up to 20 elements. Then total element is a integer variable that we have declared to take the input from the user, like how many number they want to enter. Okay, and then we have a sum variable which is initially we have declared as 0. Okay, this value is the final thing that we will be printing. So let's see like how it goes. Now after that the user has written a print statement. This is the print statement asking the users to write like how many elements that you want to enter, and for that element how like what is the sum that you want to put. So for that initially we have asked the users to enter the number of elements. So for example, user has entered 6. Now we will allow the user to enter 6 numbers. Okay, so we have stored this total element. Say user has entered 6, taking input to the array elements. Now what we will do, we will take the inputs. Now every time, if you see here scanf, every times number of 0 we are trying to write the value using scanf. Okay, so for example, this is one example I have took number 0. This loop will run from I is equal to 0 to I less than 6 total element. Why? Because initially we have asked the user to enter the total element. User has entered 6. Now this total element will get replaced with 6. So it will come from 0 to 5, 0 till 5. That means it will run for 6 times. So this loop will run for the 6 time. Then we have this print statement. After that we are asking the user to enter that number. So number of 0. So it will run from 0 to 6. Okay, so this is my mistake. I think this would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my mistake. So if you see here, number of 0, initially user has entered 20. After that what happens, the loop continues, this loop continues. Then after that user has entered 40. Then again this loop continues, user has entered 21. This loop continues, user has entered 22. Loop continues, user has entered 44. Loop continues, user has entered 25. So now this initial array that we have declared that can store up to 20 elements, we made this array to store only 6 elements, and on this 6 element we have put these numbers in a contiguous memory location. Okay, now 20, 40, 21, 22, 44, 25 are present in an array in a contiguous memory location. So this is the story till now. Now what happens next? We run another for loop. So our ultimate goal is to print the sum of all these elements. So that is the reason now we need to iterate all these values. So what happens is we run a for loop till the total element. That means this will run for the 6 number of times. Then we have sum is equal to sum plus number of I. Now initially we have declared, if you see here we have declared the sum as 0. Now the sum is 0, 0 plus number of 0, because I value is 0 now. So num of 0 is 20. So 20 will come, and then it will override the sum value to 20. So if you add this 2, now what will happen? The new value of sum becomes 20. Okay. Now when the next time the loop runs, what happens? Again we have sum is equal to sum plus number. Now sum. Now this time sum is not 0. Why? Because in the previous run our sum value got overridden with 20. The next time when the loop runs, that time we don't take the sum number as 0. We take the new value of the sum that was present in our previous run. Okay. Now the sum value becomes 20. 20 plus number of 1, because now the second time, so this is the second time the loop is running. So number of 1 we have declared as 40 earlier. So 40 plus 20 gives 60. Similarly the loop continues. Now the I value becomes 3. What is the sum value? Sum value is not 0, not 20. The new sum value is 60, because in our previous run our sum value was 60. So this time what happens? 60 plus the third element 21. 60 plus 21 will become 81, and this 81 will get stored in this sum value. Okay, the loop run next. Then what happens is our sum value will come. Sum value was 81. 81 plus the next element is 22. 81 plus 22 becomes 103, and then this sum value got overridden with 103. Again the loop runs. Sum is equal to sum plus number. Sum is 103. 103 plus 44 will give you 147. This is the new value of the sum. Now the sum value will change to 147. Again the loop runs. Sum is equal to 147. 147 plus the final element is 25. 147 plus 25 is 172, and this is the sum value that we have. Now the loop terminates because our condition will become false after that. And there is, if you see here, there is a final summation value that we have printed. Summation is percentage d sum. Now this percentage d will be replaced with the sum value, and the sum value, that the final sum value that we had was 172, and this 172 will get printed here. So this is how, like, we take a we ask the user to enter the number of elements that you wanted to do the sum. Then the user will start entering all the value. Then what we do is, every time the user enters the value, and then we run another for loop which will do sum is equal to sum plus the number that has been entered by the user. And this is how, like, you get final sum of 172 based on the inputs that has been given by the user. So in this case, these were the inputs that the user has given, and then we got the output as 172. So I think this part is clear, and like we will meet or see in the next video. Thank you.